Commander Hyun's bioluminescent skin flickered with patterns of deep purple and gold as he stepped into the center of the massive crystalline chamber. The Galactic Council's meeting hall stretched impossibly high, its walls alive with swirling energy that reflected the light from 1,000 different star systems. Representatives from 47 species sat in their specialized atmospheric pods, each one a master of their corner of the galaxy. The holographic display materialized above Hyun's head, showing the pathetic sight that had brought them all together. Earth's so-called fleet drifted in the void like ancient relics. Metal hulls scarred and patched, primitive chemical rockets attached like crude afterthoughts. Some ships still bore visible welding marks, where human hands had desperately tried to repair battle damage. "Look at this embarrassment," Hyun's voice resonated through the chamber's translation matrices, reaching every species in their native tongue. His mandibles clicked together in what passed for laughter among the Zephyrians. "These humans call this a military force. I've seen mining vessels with better armor plating." The display zoomed in on one of the human ships. Through the transparent aluminum viewports, they could see the cramped interior spaces, where humans worked in bulky environmental suits. No elegant bio-integration like the Zephyrians. No crystalline matrix systems like the Mineral Lords, just crude metal and desperate engineering. General Voss of the Mineral Lords shifted his massive stone-like form within his gravitational support field. His species had conquered 12 star systems through patience and overwhelming force, but something about the human data troubled him. "Commander Hyun, our deep space monitors have detected unusual energy signatures from their outer colonies. Perhaps we should investigate further before what?" Admiral Crix interrupted, her energy-based form crackling with barely contained plasma. The Energy Consortium had ruled the galactic core for 3,000 years, and her impatience was legendary. "Before these primitives develop faster-than-light communication, before they learn to harness zero-point energy." She gestured dismissively at the hologram. "Look at their weapon systems, Voss. Kinetic projectiles fired from chemical propellants, explosive warheads that wouldn't scratch our shields. They're still using uranium fission for power." The display shifted to show recorded footage of human military exercises, clumsy maneuvers around asteroid fields, ships bumping into each other during formation flying, communications delays that left entire squadrons confused and scattered. One vessel actually collided with a space station during a routine docking procedure. Hyun's bioluminescent patches flared brighter. "The collective's bioships will dissolve their hull metal in less than 10 minutes. Our acid clouds will eat through their primitive armor like it's organic tissue. I estimate total victory within 4 standard hours." Around the chamber, various species nodded their agreement. The hive mind clusters buzzed their approval through their shared consciousness. The machine collective's representatives processed the data and confirmed the tactical assessment with cold digital precision. Even the mysterious Voidwalkers, rarely seen outside their dimension-phasing ships, seemed satisfied with the projected outcome. But General Voss remained unconvinced. His species had learned caution through millennia of warfare. "These humans have survived several extinction-level events on their homeworld. They've shown remarkable adaptability. Our xenobiologists report that they're one of the few species to develop tool use, agriculture, and spaceflight despite having no natural armor, claws, or telepathic abilities." "Exactly my point." Crix's plasma form pulsed with amusement. "They're weak, defenseless. They've reached space travel through luck and stubbornness, not through any real evolutionary advantage. One coordinated strike and their entire civilization collapses." The hologram now showed Earth itself, that small blue-green world spinning peacefully in its star's habitable zone. City lights twinkled across the night side like scattered jewels. Orbital stations hung in careful formation around the planet, their solar arrays catching starlight. It looked so fragile, so utterly unprepared for what was coming. Hyun activated another display, this one showing the collective's invasion fleet. Massive bioships that looked more like living creatures than spacecraft, their hull surfaces rippling with adaptive armor. Weapon pods that could reshape themselves for different types of warfare. Regenerative systems that could repair battle. Damage in real time. Each ship was a masterpiece of biological engineering, grown rather than built, capable of thinking and adapting on its own. 47 bioships, Hyun announced proudly. Each one capable of destroying a dozen primitive vessels. Our smallest scout ships carry more firepower than their entire fleet combined. We won't even need to deploy our battle cruisers. The council chamber fell silent as the representatives considered the overwhelming odds. 47 species had come together for this moment, united in their desire to claim the resources of the Sol system. Earth's location made it a perfect staging ground for expansion into the outer galaxy, and its primitive defenders posed no real threat. The vote was called. One by one, each species registered their approval. The crystalline architects voted yes. The gas giant swimmers voted yes. Even the cautious silicon-based computronics voted yes. When General Voss's turn came, he hesitated for just a moment before adding his voice to the chorus. Unanimous, the Council's AI announced in its neutral tone. Operation Harvest Dawn is approved. Fleet deployment begins at the next stellar alignment. Hyun's satisfaction was visible in the brilliant cascade of colors that flowed across his bioluminescent skin. This will be over before their primitive minds can comprehend what's happening. By this time tomorrow, humanity will be nothing more than a footnote in galactic history. The representatives began filing out of the chamber, already discussing how to divide Earth's resources among themselves. None of them noticed the small device hidden within the chamber's energy matrix, faithfully recording every word of their conversation and transmitting it across the galaxy through channels they had never imagined possible. The void of space around Neptune suddenly erupted with rippling distortions as 47 massive bioships tore through the fabric of reality itself. Each vessel pulsed with sickly green veins that ran along their organic hulls like infected arteries. The largest of them stretched nearly 2 kilometers long, its surface covered in what looked like breathing pores that opened and closed in rhythm with some alien heartbeat. Commander Hyun's flagship Devourer led the formation, its bioluminescent patches flashing victory signals to the rest of the fleet. Through the ship's neural interface, he could feel the excitement of his vessel as it tasted the chemical signatures of human technology drifting through space. The bioship was hungry for battle, eager to dissolve metal and feast on the primitive alloys that made up Earth's pathetic defense force. But something was wrong. The human fleet wasn't running. Admiral Jin stood perfectly still on the bridge of the Harmony, his weathered hands clasped behind his back as he watched the tactical display. Around him, his crew worked with practiced efficiency, their movements calm and deliberate, despite the overwhelming odds bearing down on them. The bridge's lighting cast deep shadows across Jin's face, but his eyes remained steady and focused. "Distance to enemy formation?" Jin asked quietly. 200,000 kilometers and closing fast, reported Communications Officer Yun, her fingers dancing across holographic controls. "Their bioships are accelerating beyond our projected capabilities. Estimated contact in 14 minutes. Lieutenant, So looked up from her tactical station, sweat beading on her forehead despite the bridge's cool temperature. "Sir, I'm reading massive energy buildups across their entire fleet. Whatever they're charging up, it's unlike anything in our databases." Jin nodded slowly. "And our fleet status?" "All vessels report ready, Admiral." Captain Dong's voice crackled. Through the comm system from the heavy cruiser Defiance. The boys are nervous, but they're holding formation. Through the main viewport, Jin could see the human fleet spread out in what appeared to be a desperate defensive formation. 28 ships of various sizes, their metal hulls scarred and patched from years of service. Some vessels showed obvious signs of hasty repairs, with welding marks still visible on their armor plating. To any observer, they looked like a ragtag collection of obsolete warships preparing for a hopeless last stand. The alien formation closed the distance with terrifying speed. Hyun's bioships moved through space like a school of predatory fish, their organic hulls rippling with anticipation. Weapon pods along their flanks began to swell and distend, preparing to unleash biological warfare that had conquered dozens of worlds. "Sir," Lieutenant Su's voice was tight with tension. "They're launching something. Massive bioacid torpedoes, dozens of them. Impact in 30 seconds." The alien weapons streaked through space like living missiles, their surfaces pulsing with digestive enzymes designed to eat through any known metal compound. Each torpedo was the size of a small spacecraft, packed with enough bioacid to dissolve an entire city block. Jin watched the incoming barrage with unchanged expression. All stations maintain current positions. Do not return fire. Repeat, do not return fire. Admiral? Sue turned in her seat, confusion clear on her face. Let them come, Jin repeated, his voice carrying across the bridge with absolute certainty. The bioacid torpedoes slammed into the human fleet with devastating impact. Alien sensors registered direct hits across multiple vessels as the acid began its deadly work. On the Devourers. Bridge. Hyun watched with satisfaction as the primitive human hulls began to dissolve under the assault. Pathetic, he clicked to his tactical officer. Their armor is melting like ice in acid rain. This will be over in minutes. But then something impossible happened. The dissolving metal began to flow back together like liquid mercury finding its original shape. Hull breaches sealed themselves with new material that seemed to grow from within the ship's structure. Damaged sections didn't just repair themselves, they improved, becoming stronger and more resistant than before. Hyun's bioluminescent patches flickered in shock. What sorcery is this? On the Harmony's bridge, Jin allowed himself a small smile. Open channels to all alien vessels, Lieutenant Sue. The communication array crackled to life, Jin's voice broadcasting across every frequency the alien fleet was monitoring. Attention, Galactic Council forces. This is Admiral Jin of the Earth Defense Fleet. We've been expecting you. The aliens' formation wavered as confusion spread through their ranks. How could primitive humans have been expecting them? Their invasion plans had been classified at the highest levels. We know what you are, Jin continued, his calm voice carrying the weight of absolute confidence. We know your bioacid compositions, your energy weapon frequencies, your tactical doctrines, and your species' weaknesses. We know because we've been preparing for this moment for 50 years. The human ships began to change. Metal plating peeled, away like discarded skin, revealing the truth beneath. Biomechanical hybrid hulls that pulsed with their own alien life, adaptive armor that shifted and evolved in real time, weapon systems that incorporated technology from a dozen different galactic civilizations. Captain Min's voice came through. From the destroyer Resilience, all ships' Phase 2 protocols are now active, reveal adaptive countermeasures. Across the human fleet, vessels that had appeared crude and primitive moments before now showed their true nature. Living metal flowed across their hulls like liquid thought. Weapon ports that had seemed simple kinetic launchers reconfigured themselves into energy projectors using stolen alien technology. Defense grids came online that shouldn't have existed in human space. Hyun's mandibles clicked frantically as he processed what he was seeing. This is impossible. Our intelligence reports showed primitive chemical propulsion and metal hull construction. Your intelligence was exactly what we wanted you to see. Jin's voice cut through the alien communication channels like a blade. Every scout ship you sent, every probe you launched, every spy you thought escaped our system, they all carried back carefully crafted lies. The Devourer shuddered as its biosensors detected technology signatures that matched its own species, most advanced systems. Somehow impossibly, the humans had not just acquired Zephyrian biotechnology, they had improved upon it. Lieutenant Sue's tactical display lit up with new contacts as hidden human vessels decloaked throughout the solar system. Ships that had been hiding in asteroid fields behind planetary bodies, even within the corona of the sun itself, using heat-resistant bioarmor. The aliens found themselves surrounded by a force 3 times larger than their intelligence had suggested. How? General Voss's transmission crackled with static, as his mineral-based communication systems struggled to process the impossible data. How do you have our technology? Jin's smile widened slightly. Because we've been taking it from you piece by piece for half a century. Every time you thought you were studying us, we were studying you. Every crashed probe, every disabled scout ship, every piece of wreckage you thought was lost in deep space, we collected it all. The human fleet began to advance, their biomechanical hulls rippling with adaptive camouflage that made them difficult to target. Weapon systems charged with energy signatures that matched and countered each alien species' defensive capabilities. On the bridge of the Harmony, Jin watched as decades of careful preparation finally revealed themselves. Humanity had never been the primitive species the aliens believed them to be. They had been the patient hunters, waiting for their prey to come to them. The solar system exploded into chaos as the largest space battle in human history began. Admiral Crix's Energy Consortium flagship, Stellar Fury, opened fire first, its crystalline weapon arrays charging with enough power to vaporize a small moon. Brilliant plasma beams lanced across space, each one hot enough to melt through planetary crusts. The devastating energy struck the human cruiser, Determination dead center. For a moment, the ship vanished in a sphere of superheated plasma that should have reduced it to atomic particles. But when the energy dissipated, the vessel emerged completely unharmed, its hull actually glowing brighter than before. Impossible. Crix's energy form crackled with frustration. That was enough power to destroy a battle station. On the bridge of the Determination, Commander J calmly watched his ship's hull readings. Metamaterial plating is holding perfectly, sir. Actually, we're storing about 60% of their energy output in our backup systems. The human ship's hull had transformed the moment the plasma struck. Millions of microscopic panels shifted, hand-rotated, creating a surface that didn't just deflect energy, but actively absorbed and redirected it. What should have been a killing blow instead became fuel for the human ship's own weapons. Across the battlefield, General Voss's massive dreadnought Stone Crusher unleashed its signature weapon. Gravitational distortion waves rippled through space, invisible forces capable of crushing asteroids into dust or tearing apart the molecular bonds that held matter together. The weapon had never failed to destroy its target. The gravitational waves struck the human destroyer, swift justice, and simply curved around it. The ship sat in the center of a bubble of warped space-time, completely untouched by forces that should have compressed it into a ball of super-dense matter. Our gravitational weapons are useless, Voss's rocky voice rumbled with disbelief. They're bending space around themselves like they're not even there. Lieutenant Wu, monitoring the Swift Justice's defensive systems, grinned as she watched. The readings. Localized space-time manipulation is holding steady. Their gravitational weapons can't touch us when we're technically existing in a parallel dimensional pocket. But the real horror began when Commander Hyun's bioships entered the fight. The Devourer and its sister vessels released clouds of microscopic nightmares, billions of flesh-eating nanites that could consume organic matter and convert it into more of themselves. These microscopic predators had devoured entire civilizations, turning populated worlds into barren wastelands in a matter of days. Captain Min stood on the bridge of the Resilience, watching as the nanite clouds approached like glittering storms of death. Her crew worked with practiced calm, even as sensors showed the alien microscopic weapons multiplying exponentially as they fed on space dust and cosmic radiation. Nanite cloud impact in 30 seconds, reported Tactical Officer Heye. Estimated. Count is approaching 50 billion individual units. Deploy the antibodies, Min ordered, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what they faced. The human ships released their own microscopic defenders, but these weren't nanites. They were living organisms, carefully engineered biological warriors that had been designed specifically to hunt and destroy the aliens' microscopic weapons. Each antibody was a tiny marvel of genetic engineering, programmed with one purpose: find alien nanites and consume them. The two microscopic armies met in the void between the fleets. What followed was invisible to the naked eye, but clearly visible on sensor arrays as billions of individual battles played out in seconds. The human antibodies didn't just destroy the alien nanites, they devoured them completely, using the aliens' own technology to fuel their reproduction. How is this possible? General Voss transmitted across all frequencies, his desperation clear even through the universal translator. How do you counter everything we have? Our weapons have conquered 47 star systems. Lieutenant Tay looked up from his tactical station aboard the Harmony, a grim smile playing across his face. Because we've been preparing for you for 50 years, General. Every crashed probe that you thought was lost, every scout ship that suffered mechanical failure near our outer colonies, Every piece of wreckage that disappeared from your battlefields, we collected it all. The truth was worse than the aliens could have imagined. Humanity had been fighting a shadow war across the galaxy for decades, carefully gathering intelligence and technology while appearing weak and primitive. Every alien defeat, every accident, every mysterious disappearance had been part of an elaborate plan. The hive mind clusters tried to coordinate a counterattack, their shared consciousness allowing perfect tactical coordination among their ships. But the human fleet anticipated every move before it was made. When the clusters tried to surround the human formation, they found their enemies had already repositioned to counter the maneuver. When they attempted a feinting attack, the humans had already reinforced the real target. Commander Yoon aboard the heavy cruiser, Vengeance, monitored the battle with satisfaction. Their tactical patterns matched the simulations perfectly. 50 years of studying their combat doctrine is paying off. The Machine Collective's robotic warships tried to adapt, their artificial intelligence systems running millions of combat calculations per second. But every strategy they computed had already been anticipated. The humans fought like they could read the machine's digital minds, countering every tactical algorithm before it could be implemented. Admiral Crix's energy-based form flickered with panic as she watched her supposedly invincible fleet being systematically dismantled. They know our weapons, our tactics, our capabilities. How long have they been watching us? The crystalline architect's beautiful crystal ships, designed to shatter enemy vessels with harmonic resonance, found their sonic weapons useless against human hulls that absorbed and dampened every frequency. The gas giant swimmers' pressure weapons that could crush spacecraft like tin cans met human ships with adaptive armor that redistributed force perfectly. Even the mysterious Void Walkers, masters of dimensional warfare who could phase in and out of reality itself, discovered that human ships could track them through multiple dimensions simultaneously. Their greatest advantage, the ability to attack from parallel realities, meant nothing against enemies who had learned to fight across dimensional barriers. Captain Min watched as alien formations began to break apart, their perfect coordination crumbling into chaos. Ships that had conquered countless worlds now fled in terror from enemies they had dismissed as primitive. The greatest military force the galaxy had ever assembled was being destroyed by the species they had planned to exterminate in a single day. All human vessels, Admiral Jin's voice came across the fleet communication system, begin Phase 4 operations. Show them what we learned from the Void Walkers. Across the human fleet, ships began to phase shift, disappearing from normal space, only to reappear behind enemy formations with devastating effect. The hunters had truly become the hunted, and the prey they had stalked for so long was revealing itself to be the galaxy's most dangerous predator. Admiral Crix's flagship, Stella. Fury bucked violently, as energy weapons that perfectly matched her own technology tore through its crystalline armor. The Energy Consortium had spent 3 millennia perfecting their plasma projection systems, creating weapons that no known defense could withstand. Yet somehow, impossibly, the humans were using identical technology against her. "This is our plasma." "Frequency!" Crix screamed, her energy-based form crackling with panic and rage. "These are our harmonic resonances. How do these primitives have weapons that match our exact specifications?" The human destroyer, relentless, swept past her flagship, its weapons ports glowing with the same brilliant energy that had made the Energy Consortium masters of the galactic core. But these weren't crude copies or reverse-engineered approximations. These were perfect replications, improved and enhanced beyond even the originals. On the bridge of the Harmony, Admiral Jin stood before the main tactical display, watching as his carefully laid plans unfolded with mathematical precision. 47 alien civilizations had come to destroy humanity, and each one was being defeated by their own technology, turned against them. "Major Bin," Jin said calmly, his weathered face showing no emotion despite the magnitude of the moment. "Open secure channels to all department heads. Authorization code Omega 77. It's time they learned the truth." Major Bin's fingers flew over her communication console, activating systems that had been hidden within human ships for decades. Deep within the hull of every vessel, quantum communication arrays came online, broadcasting on frequencies that the aliens didn't even know existed. "All stations report ready, Admiral," Bin announced. "We have direct access to every alien command ship's communication system." Jin nodded slowly. "Begin data transmission. Show them Project Looking Glass." Across, the alien fleet command bridges suddenly filled with holographic displays that their crews hadn't activated. The images showed impossible scenes that challenged everything they believed about human capabilities and galactic history. The first image was dated 53 years ago. A Zephyrian scout ship drifted helplessly in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, its biohull damaged by what appeared to be a collision with space debris. Human salvage vessels approached cautiously, their crews wearing primitive environmental suits and using basic magnetic grapples to secure the alien craft. Commander Hyun's bioluminescent patches flickered with recognition as he watched the recording. "The Seeker. We lost contact 53 years ago. Navigation error, we assumed. The ship drifted into an asteroid field, but the recording continued, showing what really happened. The asteroid that had damaged the scout ship hadn't been natural debris. It had been a carefully disguised human weapon, designed to disable rather than destroy. The primitive salvage operation was actually a sophisticated capture mission, with human specialists extracting every piece of technology from the crippled vessel." General Voss watched in growing horror as the display showed similar scenes from across the galaxy. Mineral-lord deep space mining vessels that had suffered equipment failures near remote star systems. Energy Consortium research ships that had experienced power fluctuations while exploring uncharted regions. Machine Collective, automated, probes that had simply vanished from their patrol routes. Every loss, Jin's voice crackled across the alien communication systems. Every accident, every mysterious disappearance over the past 5 decades. We orchestrated all of it. The holographic display shifted to show hidden human facilities scattered throughout the galaxy. Massive space stations disguised as asteroids, underground research complexes on barren moons, and most shocking of all, entire fleets of advanced human vessels that had been built using stolen alien technology. Captain Yu aboard the stealth ship Ghostwalker smiled as he watched the alien reactions. His vessel had been built using Voidwalker dimensional phase technology, allowing it to exist partially outside normal space. For 30 years, ships like his had been hunting alien vessels throughout the galaxy, striking from dimensional shadows and disappearing before their enemies could react. "The primitive chemical rockets you observed around Earth," Jin continued, his calm voice cutting through the aliens' panicked communications. "Those were decoys. Museum pieces we kept operational, specifically for your scouts to photograph and report back to your intelligence services." Commander Hyun's bioship Devourer convulsed as the full scope of human deception became clear. Every intelligence report, every surveillance mission, every piece of data the Galactic Council had used to plan their invasion had been carefully crafted lies. The humans had controlled the flow of information for decades, feeding the aliens exactly what they wanted them to believe. The display showed the real human fleet, vessels that incorporated technology from dozens of different species, biomechanical, hulls that combined Zephyrian organic armor with crystalline architect harmonic resonance chambers, weapon systems that merged Energy Consortium plasma projectors with machine collective targeting algorithms, defense grids that used mineral lord, gravitational manipulation, enhanced by Voidwalker dimensional anchoring. "How you studied us," Jin's voice carried a note of dark amusement. "But we studied you better. Every time you thought you were learning our weaknesses, you were actually showing us yours." The aliens watched in stunned silence as the recordings revealed the true scope of humanity's shadow war. Human operatives had infiltrated alien research facilities. Sleeper agents had spent decades working within alien governments. Advanced human reconnaissance ships had monitored every major battle, learning tactical doctrines and identifying weaknesses in alien military strategies. Lieutenant Dan, aboard the intelligence vessel, Whisper had personally overseen surveillance operations on 47 different worlds. "We've been mapping their defense networks for 30 years, he he reported to his commander. "Every weakness, every blind spot, every tactical doctrine they use, we know their military capabilities better than they do." The hive mind clusters buzzed with terror as they realized that their shared consciousness, their greatest strength, had been compromised. Human psychic specialists had learned to tap into their neural networks, reading their thoughts and predicting their actions. What they had believed was perfect coordination had actually been guided by human manipulation. General Voss's rocky form shuddered as he processed the implications. The resource surveys, the territorial disputes, the trade negotiations. How much of our recent history was influenced by human interference? "Enough," Jin replied simply. "Enough to ensure that when this moment came, we would be ready for anything you could bring against us." The recording showed the construction of Earth's real defense fleet, massive shipyards hidden within the sun's corona, where alien sensors couldn't detect them. Thousands of workers in advanced environmental suits assembling vessels that incorporated the best technology from across the galaxy. Each ship was a hybrid marvel, designed specifically to counter the weapons and tactics of particular alien species. Admiral Crix's energy form flickered weakly as she realized the horrible truth. The energy signatures we detected from their outer colonies, those weren't primitive power sources. "No," Jin confirmed. "Those were test facilities where we were perfecting our countermeasures against your weapons. Every energy frequency you've ever used, we've learned to absorb, redirect, or neutralize." The alien fleet began to scatter as the full scope of human preparation became clear. They weren't facing primitive newcomers to the galactic stage. They were fighting an enemy that had been preparing for this war longer than some of their civilizations had existed. An enemy that knew their every strength and had prepared counters for their every strategy. In the depths of space, humanity's true nature finally stood revealed. They weren't the prey the aliens had come to hunt. They were the patient predators who had been waiting 50 years for their enemies to walk into the perfect trap. The once mighty Galactic Council fleet began its retreat in absolute chaos. Ships that had conquered star systems now fled like frightened animals, their perfect formations dissolving into scattered groups of desperate survivors. But the humans weren't content to simply watch them leave. This was the moment to demonstrate the true extent of their power. Admiral Crix's damaged flagship, Stellar Fury, limped through space, its crystalline hull cracked and bleeding energy into the void. Behind her, 3 human vessels materialized, out of thin air, their dimensional phase drives allowing them to step between realities like walking through doorways. The Shadow Strike, Phantom Wing, and Void Hunter had been built using stolen Voidwalker technology, but humanity had improved upon the original designs in ways that defied comprehension. "Impossible," Crix transmitted weakly as she watched. The human ships phase in and out of existence around her. "Dimensional manipulation takes centuries to master. How do these creatures use our most advanced technology better than we do?" Captain Lee aboard the Shadow Strike smiled as his ship materialized directly above the alien flagship. "Because we don't just copy your technology, Admiral. We perfect it. Your Voidwalker allies never learned to maintain consciousness across multiple dimensions simultaneously. We can exist in 7 different realities at once." The human vessel demonstrated this by firing weapons that existed in several dimensions at the same time. The energy beam struck Crix's ship from angles that shouldn't have been possible, hitting the flagship from above, below, and within its own hull structure simultaneously. Across the battlefield, Commander Hyun's bioship, Devourer, writhed in agony as human weapons turned its own living armor against itself. The Zephyrian vessel's organic hull began consuming its own systems, the bioarmor receiving signals that triggered its digestive processes to attack the ship's vital organs. "What have you done to us?" Hyun screamed as his ship literally began eating itself alive. Dr. Park, aboard the human research vessel, Darwin's Revenge, monitored the bioweapon's effectiveness with clinical detachment. "We've simply reprogrammed your ship's genetic code. Your bioarmor now believes the rest of your vessel is a foreign contaminant that needs to be eliminated." Quite elegant, really. The Zephyrian commander watched in horror as decades of biological engineering turned against him. The living corridors of his ship pulsed and contracted, trying to digest the crew members moving through them. Emergency. Systems that should have protected the vessel instead began breaking down its own structure at the molecular level. General Voss's massive dreadnought Stone Crusher fared no better. Human vessels surrounded the Mineral Lord flagship, using gravitational manipulation that made his own weapons look primitive. The human ships didn't just bend space around themselves, they weaponized gravity itself, creating localized black holes that twisted the alien vessel's rocky armor into impossible shapes. "Our gravitational technology is millions of years old," Voss transmitted desperately. "How do you manipulate space-time better than civilizations that mastered it before your son was born?" Commander Kim, aboard the gravity warfare ship Event. Horizon checked his readings with satisfaction. "Because we learned from everyone, General. Your people taught us gravitational manipulation. The Energy Consortium showed us how to focus power through crystalline matrices. The Machine Collective's AI helped us calculate the math. We combined all your knowledge into something none of you could imagine alone," the human ship demonstrated. By creating a gravitational wave that didn't just crush Voss's vessel, but actually reversed the flow of time around specific sections of the hull. Parts of the alien dreadnought began aging backwards, while other sections experienced accelerated entropy, creating stress fractures that no armor could withstand. The Machine Collective's robotic warships tried to adapt their artificial intelligence, systems running desperate calculations to find some strategy the humans hadn't anticipated. But every algorithm they computed was met with perfect countermeasures, as if the humans could read their digital thoughts in real time. "They've cracked our quantum encryption," transmitted the AI Collective's primary node. "Somehow they're accessing our tactical networks directly. We have no secrets from them." The truth was even worse than the machines suspected. Human cyber warfare specialists had been infiltrating alien computer systems for decades, learning their programming languages and inserting hidden protocols that activated during the battle. The aliens weren't just fighting human ships, they were fighting their own technology that had been turned against them. Lieutenant Cho monitored the cyber warfare from her station aboard the electronic warfare vessel Digital Storm. "All alien. AI systems are now running our modified code. Their own computers are feeding them false data and deliberately sabotaging their tactical decisions." As the alien retreat accelerated, General Voss transmitted one final desperate message across all frequencies. "How long have you been watching us? How long have you been preparing for this?" Admiral Jin's response came from the bridge of the Harmony, his voice carrying across space with the weight of absolute authority. "Since your first scout reached our system 54 years ago, General, since the moment you decided we were prey worth hunting." The alien fleet shuddered as the implications sank in. Humanity had been watching them for over half a century, learning their secrets, stealing their technology, and preparing for this exact confrontation. Every alien civilization in the galaxy had been under surveillance by an enemy they hadn't even known existed. "You came here believing you were the hunters," Jin continued, his calm voice more terrifying than any battle cry. "But you were wrong. We are not trapped in here with you. You are trapped out there with us. The galaxy is our hunting ground now. The remaining alien ships scattered in every direction, their crews abandoning all formation discipline in their desperate flight. Some headed for the Outer Rim territories, hoping to find safety in the galaxy's unexplored regions. Others fled toward the Galactic Core, seeking protection among the ancient civilizations that had remained neutral in galactic politics. But they all carried the same message. Humanity was no longer the primitive species they had planned to exterminate. Earth had become something far more dangerous than any of them had imagined. Captain Min stood on the observation deck of the Resilience, watching as the last Energy Consortium cruiser vanished into hyperspace. The stars looked different now, no longer distant points of light but potential destinations for humanity's expanding influence. "Should we pursue them, Admiral?" Min asked through the communication system. "Our ships are faster than anything." "They have. We could hunt down every survivor." Admiral Jin's response came after a long pause, his voice thoughtful. "No, Captain. Let them run. Let them spread the word to every corner of the galaxy. Fear will be our greatest weapon now." He looked out at the debris field that had once been the most powerful fleet in galactic history, scattered fragments of alien technology drifting among the asteroids like monuments to their defeat. The galaxy spent millennia believing they were the apex predators, Jin said quietly. Today they learned that humanity has taken that title. We are no longer prey. We are no longer victims. We are the species that every other civilization will fear when they look up at the stars. In the depths of space, the message was already spreading through quantum communication networks. Across 47 different worlds, emergency councils convened to discuss the impossible news. The primitive humans of Earth had not just survived the Galactic Council's invasion, they had crushed it utterly using the aliens' own technology against them. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted forever. Humanity had announced its presence not as supplicants seeking acceptance, but as conquerors who had already won a war their enemies hadn't even known they were fighting. The end.